Your libido, one of the first things you can do is raise your testosterone naturally through better sleep, lifting weights, and eating enough protein. And listen, that advice isn't wrong. It's just not the whole story. It ignores the human aspect about what's really going on. In fact, it's the reason that you're stuck watching YouTube videos about fixing your libido. Because if you're anything like most guys, you don't need more facts. You need someone to finally just be honest with you about what's actually happening with your body. So today, I'm not going to give you a checklist. Instead, I'm going to tell you a story. A story about what's really killing your libido, even if you can't see it happening yet. It's about a guy named Johnny. And so Johnny isn't one real person. He's actually a combination of a few men that I've coached. But if you stick with me, you'll see that Johnny's story is your story too, just with a different set of details. So a quick intro, my name's Cam Joyner, and I spent 7 years battling erectile dysfunction, performance anxiety, and a libido that just felt like it had vanished. I know the pain of being mentally turned on while feeling physically just numb. Today, my sex drive is as high as it's ever been, and I'm 40 years old. So everything I'm about to share with you comes straight from personal experiences and from coaching men through this for the last 7 years. All right, so let's get into it. Just know that even if Johnny's situation isn't exactly like yours, the patterns underneath his story almost always show up when a man's sex drive crashes. So here's Johnny's story. Johnny's stuck, not just in his sex life, in everything. So at work, he's under enormous pressure. There's a huge project on the line. If he crushes it, he might finally get the promotion that he's been chasing for literal years. But if he blows it, he could actually lose his job. No exaggeration. It feels like his whole future is balancing on the edge of a knife. Meanwhile, at home, things aren't any better. His wife is distant, she's hurt, she's frustrated. She even made a comment the other day, half jokingly, but kinda not really, about whether he's sleeping with someone else, because they've been barely having sex anymore. And Johnny can feel her resentment growing. He wants to explain. He wants to say, "It's not you. I want sex. My body just won't." But the words get stuck in his throat, because deep down, he doesn't really understand it either. Sex used to be his way out, his escape. No matter how bad things got, he could always rely on that. But now, even that's gone. So out of panic, Johnny starts testing himself every day, trying to jerk off just to prove to himself that he's still capable. And sometimes he can, but most days it just feels hollow, forced, mechanical. And every time it feels a little worse, his anxiety doubles. Why can't he just want it like he used to? Why does it feel like he's broken? Let's break it down. What's actually happening to Johnny? Let's slow down and unpack this, because there's a lot here that's killing his libido. In fact, a lot more than we're even going to go over. So first, and probably most important, is that Johnny's libido isn't gone. It's actually being reallocated. So every day you wake up with a finite amount of energy, physical, mental, emotional. When you burn through it, that's when you feel tired. So in your libido, it's like a bank account that draws from that energy. And when life is calm and your account is full, your libido feels strong. Desire comes naturally. Sex feels easy. But when life is heavy, when work is stressful, when there's money pressure and emotional tensions drain your reserves, your account runs low. The resources normally allocated to his sex drive have been reallocated to deal with the problem at work. But Johnny doesn't know this, and he thinks something's wrong. So, he tests himself. And when your account is low, mindlessly masturbating is like spending money you don't have. It doesn't refill the account. It drains it even further. So, Johnny thinks he's testing himself to see if he's still a man. But in reality, he's pulling from an account that's dangerously overdrawn. And this makes it even harder for his body to rebuild its natural reserves. That's why the best, most powerful orgasms of your life, they don't happen during constant use. They happen after a period of rest, like pressure building behind a dam. So if you want proof of this, try going 30 days without an orgasm. No porn, no masturbation, no sex, and feel the difference in your orgasm on day 31. So if Johnny stopped forcing it and let his system recharge, he wouldn't just get back to normal. He'd actually probably feel even better than normal. So the second thing is that Johnny's relationship is emotionally unsafe. Sex isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's energetic. Right now, Johnny's home life is filled with tension, distance, mistrust. His wife is concerned he's cheating on her. Here's the truth. Neglect doesn't spark arousal in her or him. Insecurity doesn't spark arousal. Resentment doesn't spark arousal. Sex is a vulnerable thing. We can get hurt emotionally, and our bodies aren't dumb. They read the emotional temperature of our environment, and they adjust our desire accordingly. Without closeness, without trust, without affection, the fuel for desire dries up. So Johnny's body is trying to protect him from being emotionally crushed. Johnny needs to feel safe and connected for his body to feel horny. That's why sex feels so electric when you first fall for someone new. Every look, every touch, every conversation is charged with connection. If Johnny finishes his work project and pours that same kind of attention and affection back into his marriage, his libido will come roaring back stronger than he remembers. Because when connection deepens, desire follows. So the third thing is that Johnny's financial stress is crushing his confidence. For most men, two things really define how we feel about ourselves. So our income and our erections. And so Johnny's financial security feels fragile, and his marriage feels unstable. His body feels unreliable. And that's a brutal cocktail. When a man's confidence collapses, his libido almost always collapses with it. Not because he's weak, but because real confidence, the kind that comes from building something meaningful, from becoming someone you're proud of, is one of the biggest hidden drivers of male sexual energy. You don't fix your libido by focusing on your libido. You fix it by fixing your life. If you want help with that, not just patching the symptoms, but actually rebuilding the parts of your life that fuel your confidence, your connection, and your sex drive, that's exactly what I help men do every day. If you're tired of guessing and you're ready to get real answers, you can learn more about working with me from the link in the description. And listen, I'm not judging you. I spent years obsessing over sex when the real problem was that my life was completely falling apart underneath me. I did the exact same thing. Looking back, that obsession wasn't strength. It was a form of immaturity. It was easier to panic about my erections than to face the real work I needed to do. Eventually, I had to grow up. And if you want this part of your life to change, you will too. Getting hard doesn't make you a man. Handling the hard parts of life does. When you fix your life, when you rebuild your confidence, when you take ownership of the things that you've been running from, that's when your body follows. That's when desire comes back stronger than ever, because it's built on something real, not because you forced it, but because you earned it by becoming the man you were supposed to be. And if you want to take this even deeper, and if you want to understand why true masculinity isn't about erections, but about the kind of man you're becoming, click on the next video right here. In that video, I'll share what I learned about masculinity by healing my erections and why understanding that changed everything. I'll see you there.